come on, Lego, this is low-hanging fruit. What makes you think you can make this kind of video? This doesn't happen all the time. You have guys that re-sign with their teams all the time. There are always situations where franchise-caliber players in contract years re-sign with their teams. It happens every year. And yeah, that might be the case, but I thought this was funny. So we're making a video about it just because of that, because it is funny. What I wanted to do was focus on a tweet made by Koskadaddy, fake news hater on Twitter. What they did a few days ago, and by a few days ago I mean like a week and a half ago, this was from September 21st, so yeah, the 21st night of September, ha ha ha, do you remember? The tweet's pretty simple. All it says is same vibes, and in the tweet there are 4 individual screenshots of quotes made by NHL players. The first quote included is one from Johnny Gaudreau, made on May 28th, 2022. He's talking about Calgary, and he says, "I do really, really love it here." Gaudreau gushes about Calgary as the free agency period looms. You then have the next quote in this tweet right here. It's an article from the Hockey News made on July 27th, 2016, talking about how John Tavares wants to spend his career with the Islanders. The next quote on this tweet that's included is made by Matthew Tkachuk from September 25th of 2019, so 3 years ago. This was back, I believe, when he signed his contract extension, the bridge deal that took him for 3 years. Matthew Tkachuk is very emphatic about his desire to play in Calgary and to win in Calgary. He loves the city, his teammates, the fans, and this deal allows the club to give this roster, which Matthew has praised multiple times, a chance to win together. Then you have yourselves the final quote made on September 21st, 2022. Auston Matthews says he loves playing in Toronto. "I consider it home now." And I get it, this is like very low-hanging fruit. It's not really anything that I think is worth talking about, but I thought it was funny to go out there and compare some of these situations in the past. Because obviously, if you haven't caught on, what Koskadaddy is doing is they're talking about former NHL stars who, after saying they loved their team so very much, they wanted to stay in their team and their city and everything, they were committed, they loved the fans, and they loved everything about it, only for them to leave shortly after. Johnny Gaudreau said that he loved playing in Calgary. Then, guess what? He leaves Calgary as a free agent. John Tavares, hey, he wants to spend his career with the Islanders. And then guess what? He leaves the Islanders, he does not sign with the Sharks, he signs a cheaper deal in Toronto, and he's there today. You then have Matthew Tkachuk, who said he wanted to stick around too. Now, there was a very public trade process that was going on here. It was a little different because Tkachuk was an RFA, so he wasn't really entitled to the same flexibility like guys like Gaudreau and Tavares were. But because he very publicly wanted out, the Flames had no choice but to trade him. He eventually went to Florida. And now you have Auston Matthews, a guy that's pretty much in a difficult spot because he can't start negotiating his contract extension until the 2023 season. I mean, he's got a year before we can even start talking about the idea of a contract extension for Auston Matthews. He will be a UFA by the time 2024 comes around, but the Maple Leafs and Kyle Dubas, assuming Kyle Dubas is still there in the summer of 2023, they're going to have upwards of a year to get that contract locked and loaded for Matthews. It's just funny because we've seen this before. And I know you could definitely say the contrary. Hey, what about Steven Stamkos? What about Drew Doughty? What about all the other stars in the NHL that decided to stick around long-term with their teams? And yeah, that's totally a fair argument to bring up. Auston Matthews can re-sign with the Maple Leafs. If I were to bet money on it, he probably will. But with all the conversations going around about Arizona and LA and the teams in California potentially working in Matthews into their long-term plans, okay, that sentence is kind of a meme. I was joking when I said that. It is kind of interesting to just highlight the similarities in all of the different situations. Now, I know, obviously, there are going to be similarities. Like, you can't expect Johnny Gaudreau to say in May of 2022, oh, yeah, no, I don't want to play here anymore. I'm going to go to free agency. I'm going to leave. Like, he can't say that. He's got to say he loves the city. And he probably does. He probably loves the support, the fans, the team, and how he was treated there. He was treated like a god, that Johnny Gaudreau was. It's just, for other situations, I mean, John Tavares, that one still kind of stings a lot of the Islanders fans that I talked to today, because not only did John Tavares say several times that he was very committed with the Islanders, there also was the entire reasoning why the Islanders would not trade this guy. It's because he kind of told them, yeah, we're going to be good. Like, we're good, fam. Don't worry. I'll re-sign. It's going to be no big deal. And then he kind of snaked out on them. There's a lot more intricacy and complexity to that situation. There's the entire Dear John video. If you remember that, yeah, that was like a few years ago. It's kind of wild to think that that was even a thing. But still, John Tavares was a very difficult situation for a lot of Islanders fans to really take in. Johnny Gaudreau was kind of understandable because it's like, okay, I mean, at least you had a really good playoff run, and at the same time, there was always this sentiment saying that he wanted to go home, maybe, and that sentiment was kind of there for the past few months, so it's not really like it was too big of a surprise. And then for Matthew Tkachuk, I mean, okay, he's an American dude, he wants to play in an American market, he wants to go to any of the teams, at least you got a return for him. He didn't leave you for free, you got Huberdeau, you got Weegar, you got some really good guys coming back. And so for Auston Matthews, of course, he's a UFA at the end of this entire process in 2024, like Gaudreau, like Tavares, and Auston is going to have himself an opportunity to probably get the biggest contract in the NHL. Like, I mean, McKinnon's making 12.6 right now. McDavid's making 12.5. Matthews is going to get something in the $13-14 million range if the cap keeps on going up in the same way the NHL people are saying it's going to keep going up. And plus, if Auston Matthews gets like 65 goals per season next year, the year after that, and the season after that, like, there's a lot of reason for him to go out there and get that amount of money. The only problem is Toronto going to be able to afford it? Who really knows? And is Matthews going to want to hold out and go back to Arizona? The Koska Daddy tweet that we had looked at that kicked off this entire video, the reply to it, it's kind of funny too. Take a look at this. Clayton Keller will be the best line mate Auston Matthews has ever played with. And then there's a jersey swap of Matthews in the Arizona Coyotes sweater. So, yeah, kind of funny, isn't it? The replies talk about a whole bunch of other people that went out there and said similar things, but this is kind of seen as like the four horsemen, I guess. Johnny Gaudreau, John Tavares, Matthew Tkachuk, and I guess Auston Matthews. I mean, we've got an entire year before the Maple Leafs and Matthews can actually start negotiating on an extension, so I guess we just gotta wait and see. Let's see Auston Matthews get 50 goals in 50 games for real this time. Let's see him get 65 total goals in the season. Let's see him get 70 goals in the season. Let's see him get 115 points. Let's see him get all that. And then next year, we will start talking about the contract extension, and people will start panicking because Auston Matthews is going to say he loves playing in Toronto and he wants to stay. But then if he doesn't sign a contract in the first 2 days of the contract extension period, people are going to freak out saying, oh my gosh, this is Tavares all over again. It's Johnny Gaudreau all over again. He's going to leave. Steven Stamkos had a similar situation. He stayed in Tampa. Now, you could say that it's because of the state tax, but at the same time, teams can get the guys that they have that are superstar players. It's not completely foreign. So we'll see what happens with Auston Matthews next season, but for now, I just thought it was funny to bring up Johnny Gaudreau, John Tavares, Matthew Tkachuk, and Matthews all in the same conversation because of that tweet that I had seen, and just kind of compare how similar all their quotes were. I mean, John Tavares even was like, yeah, he wants to stay in New York and he wants to end his career as an Islander, and it was all the crazy fan service that was really dedicated, and he said all the right things, but then he just ended up leaving. Sounds like a bad ex, doesn't it? Ton of the comments, though, either way, all your thoughts about Auston Matthews and the conversations around Gaudreau, Tkachuk, Tavares, and how these four might be a little bit more similar than others. I don't really know. You can talk in the comments all your thoughts. I don't even really think I understand why I made this video in the first place. I just thought the tweet was funny, so I wanted to talk about it. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Trolls 99. And bye.